I wasn't supposed to arrive until 7 p.m. It was only 4:30 when I pulled into my in-laws' driveway on Christmas Eve. Through the bay window of the study, I saw my husband Marcus kissing a woman in a red dress. But it wasn't just any woman. It was his brother's wife, Jennifer. 3 years of marriage. 3 Christmases together. And I had no idea I was married to a liar. What I did next destroyed not just my marriage, but an entire family's holiday season. And I have no regrets. Let me back up. My name is Sophia, and I'm 32 years old. I work as an architect at one of Chicago's most prestigious firms. I've always been the type of person who arrives early to everything. Parties, meetings, doctor's appointments. My mother used to say that being on time was being late in our family. It's a habit that served me well in my career, but on that Christmas Eve, it became the habit that exposed the biggest lie of my life. I met Marcus Wellington 3.5 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, successful, and came from one of those old money families that Chicago is famous for. The Wellingtons owned a financial management firm that had been in the family for 3 generations. Marcus was 35, had perfect teeth, perfect hair, and a perfect way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We dated for 6 months before he proposed at the same restaurant where we had our first date. Felt like a fairy tale. The wedding was everything I had dreamed of. 200 guests at the Chicago Botanic Garden, a reception at the Drake Hotel, and a honeymoon in the Maldives that Marcus insisted on paying for. He said he wanted to spoil me, wanted me to feel like a princess. I remember thinking I was the luckiest woman alive. Looking back now, I realize I was just the most naive. Marcus's family was complicated. His father, Richard Wellington, was a stern man who believed in tradition, reputation, and the Wellington name above all else. His mother, Patricia, was the kind of woman who could smile at you while simultaneously letting you know that your dress was inappropriate, your career was too demanding, and your contribution to the family legacy was questionable at best. They had 2 sons. Marcus, the golden child who could do no wrong, and Derek, the younger brother who was always trying to live up to Marcus's impossible standards. Derek got married 8 months before that Christmas Eve. His wife Jennifer was 27, beautiful, and worked in marketing. She had this way of lighting up a room, of making everyone feel comfortable and welcome. I actually liked her. We had gone to lunch a few times, talked about the challenges of marrying into the Wellington family, laughed about Patricia's passive-aggressive comments about our careers. I had helped plan her bridal shower. I had given a toast at her wedding about finding your perfect match. The irony makes me sick now. In the months leading up to that Christmas, I had noticed changes in Marcus. Small things at first. He was on his phone more, always angling the screen away from me. He started working late more frequently, claiming that the firm was going through a busy season. He became defensive when I asked simple questions about his day. When I suggested we take a weekend trip together, he said we needed to budget better, that we should be more careful with money. This from a man whose family had a vacation home in Aspen. But I pushed those concerns aside. I was busy with my own career. We had just landed a major project at my firm, designing a new museum complex that would take 18 months to complete. I was working 60-hour weeks, pouring everything into my designs. When Marcus said he was working late, I believed him because I was working late too. When he said he was tired and not in the mood for intimacy, I understood because I was exhausted as well. I thought we were just going through a rough patch, the kind every marriage experiences. That Christmas Eve started like any other day. I was at the office, finalizing some renderings that needed to be submitted after the holidays. The plan was to work until 5:30, go home and change, then arrive at the Wellington family Christmas party at 7 p.m. sharp. Patricia had made it very clear that 7 p.m. meant 7 p.m., not 7:05, not 7:15. The woman ran her social events like military operations. But at 3 p.m., my boss came by my desk with unexpected news. The office was closing early because of an incoming snowstorm. The weather service had upgraded the forecast, and they wanted everyone home safely before the roads got bad. I was thrilled. For once, I could leave work early, maybe even beat traffic, and have time to properly get ready for the party instead of rushing. I called Marcus to tell him the good news, but his phone went straight to voicemail. That wasn't unusual. He often put his phone on Do Not Disturb during meetings. I left him a message saying I'd probably arrive at his parents' house a bit early to help set up. Patricia was always complaining that she needed more help with her parties, so I thought she'd appreciate the gesture. I thought I was being a good daughter-in-law. The drive to the Wellington estate in Lake Forest took 40 minutes. Their house was exactly what you'd expect from old Chicago money. A sprawling Tudor-style mansion on 3 acres, with a circular driveway, professionally maintained gardens, and enough rooms that I still wasn't sure I'd seen them all. During the holidays, Patricia hired a company to decorate the entire property. Lights on every tree, wreaths on every door, and a massive Christmas tree visible through the 2-story windows in the foyer. When I arrived at 4:30, the circular driveway was already packed with catering vans and service vehicles. I had to park on the street, which was fine. I grabbed my purse and the expensive bottle of wine I'd brought as a hostess gift, and walked up the long driveway. The sun was already setting, and the house looked like something from a Christmas movie, all warm lights and promise of holiday joy. I had no idea I was walking toward a nightmare. As I approached the house, I could hear music playing inside and the sound of people moving around, probably the catering staff setting up. I was about to walk up the front steps when I noticed movement in the study. The study was Richard's domain, a wood-paneled room with leather furniture and walls lined with law books and family photos. It had large bay windows that faced the side yard, and through those windows, I saw something that made my heart stop. Marcus was standing in the middle of the room, holding a champagne glass. He was wearing dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, dressed for the party. And he was kissing a woman in a red dress. Not a peck on the cheek, not a friendly holiday kiss. A real kiss, passionate and intimate, the kind of kiss that told a story of familiarity and desire. His hand was on her waist, pulling her close. Her arms were around his neck. They looked like lovers because that's exactly what they were. For a moment, I couldn't process what I was seeing. My brain refused to accept the image. But then the woman pulled back slightly, laughing at something Marcus said, and I saw her face clearly. It was Jennifer, my sister-in-law, Derek's wife of 8 months, the woman I had helped welcome into this family. I stood there in the snow, frozen in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature. I watched as Marcus tucked a strand of Jennifer's hair behind her ear, the same gesture he used to do for me when we were dating. I watched as she adjusted his collar with the casual intimacy of someone who had done it 1,000 times before. I watched as he refilled her champagne glass from a bottle on Richard's desk, and they toasted to something, smiling at each other like they had the best secret in the world. My purse slipped from my hand and fell into the snow. The sound seemed impossibly loud in my ears, but they didn't hear it. They were in their own world, completely oblivious to the fact that Marcus's wife was standing 20 feet away, watching their affair unfold through a window. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been 30 seconds or 5 minutes. Time had stopped making sense. But then I saw Jennifer check her watch and say something to Marcus. He nodded, and they separated, each adjusting their clothing like teenagers who had been caught making out in a basement. Jennifer headed toward the door, and I realized she was about to leave the study, probably to go help Patricia with party preparations or to wait for Derek's arrival. That's when my paralysis broke. I turned and walked quickly back to my car, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. I sat in the driver's seat with shaking hands, trying to catch my breath, trying to understand what I had just witnessed. My husband was having an affair with his brother's wife, in his parents' house, on Christmas Eve. The audacity of it was almost as shocking as the betrayal itself. I pulled out my phone and did something I should have done months ago. I checked our joint bank account. Marcus and I had combined our finances when we got married. We both contributed to a joint checking account that we used for household expenses, and we each had our own accounts for personal spending. At least that's what I thought. The transactions that loaded on my screen told a different story. There were charges I didn't recognize. The Peninsula Hotel in downtown Chicago, $350, dated 2 weeks ago. That was a Tuesday when Marcus said he was working late. Gibson Steakhouse, $215 for dinner, Last month on a night when Marcus claimed he had a client dinner. GT Prime, another expensive restaurant, $180. The Langham Hotel, $400. Mare, a romantic French restaurant, $250. I scrolled back further. The charges went back months. Hotels, restaurants, room service. All the things you charge when you're having an affair and you're too arrogant or too stupid to hide it properly. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Then I saw it. Tiffany & Company, $4,200, charged 3 days ago. $4,200. I had never received anything from Tiffany's. When I asked Marcus what he wanted to do for our anniversary last month, he said we should keep it simple, maybe dinner at home, because we needed to save money for a new roof on the house. I felt bile rise in my throat. While I was worrying about our budget, suggesting we skip expensive dates to save money, Marcus was spending thousands of dollars on jewelry for his brother's wife. Every time he told me we needed to be more careful with spending, he was funding his affair. Every time he said he was too tired for date night, he was probably recovering from a romantic dinner with Jennifer. Every time he claimed he had to work late, he was at a hotel with her. I opened my Photos app and went to my cloud storage. I had backed up all of Marcus's text messages months ago when I upgraded his phone for his birthday. It was something I had done without thinking, just part of transferring data. But now, those backed up messages were about to tell me everything I needed to know. I searched for Jennifer's name. Nothing. But then I remembered she had gone back to using her maiden name professionally. Jennifer Miller. I searched for that name and found hundreds of messages going back 7 months. My stomach turned as I started reading. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. You're incredible. That was from Marcus, sent 6 months ago. Same time next Tuesday? I told Derek I have a yoga class. Jennifer's response. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. Marcus again. Soon. You said you'd tell her soon. Jennifer. I will. I just need to find the right time. Sophia's been stressed about work. I don't want to make it worse. Marcus, playing the concerned husband while planning to leave me. I read message after message, each one another knife in my heart. They talked about their future together. Marcus promised he would leave me after the holidays. He said he was only staying because his parents would be devastated by a divorce during the Christmas season. How thoughtful of him. Jennifer worried about Derek finding out. Marcus assured her that his brother was too trusting, too naive to ever suspect anything. They laughed about having to hide at family dinners, about the thrill of sneaking around. They made plans for a future after they both left their spouses. They talked about buying a house together, maybe in the suburbs, away from judgmental family members. There was more. I found another credit card account that I didn't know existed. Marcus had opened it without telling me, and he had racked up $23,000 in charges. Hotels, jewelry, romantic getaways. Every single charge was funding his double life with Jennifer. $23,000 of debt that I would be partly responsible for because we were married. I sat in my car in the gathering darkness, watching the lights of the Wellington mansion twinkle cheerfully, and felt something shift inside me. The hurt and shock were still there, crushing my chest until I could barely breathe. But underneath that pain, something else was growing. Anger. Cold, clear, righteous anger. Marcus had betrayed me in every way possible. He had broken our marriage vows. He had lied to my face every single day for months. He had stolen from our joint accounts to fund his affair. He had made me feel guilty for spending money on myself while he was buying $4,000 bracelets for another woman. And he had done all of this with his own brother's wife, destroying not just our marriage but potentially Derek's marriage too. And Jennifer. Sweet, friendly Jennifer who had cried at her wedding when Derek read his vows. Jennifer who had told me she finally felt like she found where she belonged. Jennifer who had looked me in the eye over lunch and asked for advice about dealing with Patricia's criticism. She had been sleeping with my husband the entire time. I could confront them privately. I could pull Marcus aside, show him the evidence, demand an explanation. We could handle this discreetly the way Patricia would prefer. We could avoid a scene, protect the Wellington family name, make sure nobody's reputation was damaged. But why should I protect them? Why should I care about their reputation when they had humiliated me for months? When they had carried on their affair in front of me, probably laughing about how clueless I was. When they had made me feel like I was the problem in my marriage, like I was too focused on work, too frigid, too demanding. No, they didn't deserve my discretion. They deserved exactly what they had given me. Public humiliation, exposure, consequences. I pulled up my contacts and called my best friend Rachel. Rachel and I had known each other since college. She was a divorce attorney now, successful and sharp as a knife. She answered on the second ring. Saf, what's wrong? You sound terrible. Rachel, I need your help. Marcus is having an affair with his brother's wife. I just saw them together. I have evidence. Bank statements, text messages, everything. And I want to destroy him. There was a pause. Then Rachel said, "Tell me everything." I told her about seeing them through the window, about the bank statements, about the secret credit card and the jewelry purchase. I told her about the text messages and the plans they had made for their future. Rachel listened without interrupting, and I could practically hear her lawyer brain processing everything. When I finished, she said, "Sophia, this is bad. I mean, it's good for your divorce case, but it's bad in terms of what he's done to you. The financial fraud alone is enough to get you a very favorable settlement. The fact that it's with a family member makes it even worse. How do you want to handle this? The Wellington family is having their Christmas party tonight. 60 guests, all their important friends and business associates. Everyone who matters to them will be there. I want to expose Marcus and Jennifer in front of all of them. I want everyone to know what they did. Is that crazy? It's not crazy, it's brilliant. The Wellingtons care about their reputation more than anything. You hit them where it hurts. But Sophia, are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back. Your marriage will be over, publicly and permanently. My marriage is already over, Rachel. It's been over for months. I just didn't know it. Marcus ended our marriage when he decided to sleep with Jennifer. I'm just making sure everyone knows who's responsible. Okay, then let's make this count. Can you print out those bank statements and text messages? We need hard evidence that can't be disputed. I can do that. I'm going home first to change and print everything out. The party doesn't start until 7. Good. I'm coming with you. You'll need a witness, and I want to document everything. This is going to be one hell of a divorce case, and I want to make sure we have ammunition. Also, Sophia, yeah, I'm proud of you. It takes courage to face this head-on instead of hiding from it. You're stronger than you think. I drove home in a daze. Our house in Lincoln Park felt different somehow, like I was seeing it for the first time. This was the home I had shared with Marcus for 2 years. We had picked out furniture together, argued about paint colors, hosted dinner parties in the dining room. I had thought we were building a life together, but it had all been a lie. I went straight to Marcus's home office. He had a small room on the second floor where he kept his work files and personal documents. I had rarely gone in there, respecting his privacy. What a joke that was. I had respected his privacy while he had invaded every aspect of my life with his lies. I found the Tiffany's receipt in his desk drawer. Diamond tennis bracelet, $4,200. There was a gift card still attached. In Marcus's handwriting, it said, "For Jay, every sparkle reminds me of your eyes. Forever yours, M." I took a photo of the receipt and the card. Then I went through the rest of his desk. I found statements for the secret credit card, showing the full $23,000 balance. I found printed confirmations for hotel reservations, including one for the Peninsula Hotel for this coming New Year's Eve. Marcus had told me we were staying home for New Year's because going out was too expensive. Apparently, he was planning to ring in the new year at a luxury hotel with his mistress. I photographed everything. Then I went to our home computer and printed out copies of the bank statements, showing every suspicious charge for the past 6 months. I printed the credit card statements. I created a timeline on a spreadsheet, matching Marcus's supposed business trips and late nights with hotel charges and restaurant bills. The evidence was damning and irrefutable. Then I did something I knew I would never regret. I took off my wedding ring and left it on Marcus's desk, right on top of the Tiffany's receipt. Let him find it there and understand that I knew everything. I went to my closet and pulled out a dress I had bought months ago but never worn. It was emerald green, fitted, elegant, and made me feel powerful. Marcus had always loved me in green. He said it brought out my eyes. Well, he was going to see me in green one last time, and he was going to remember this moment for the rest of his life. I did my makeup carefully, taking my time. I styled my hair. I put on my best jewelry. If I was going to destroy my marriage and expose my husband's affair in front of 60 people, I was going to look absolutely unforgettable doing it. Rachel arrived at 6:15. She had her professional camera with her, the kind she used to document evidence for court cases. She also had a leather portfolio that she started filling with copies of all my evidence. "We need multiple copies," she explained. "One set for you to show, one set for me to keep as backup, and individual packets for key people. Richard and Patricia need to see the evidence immediately. So does Derek. We want to make sure nobody can claim you're making this up or exaggerating." We worked quickly, creating evidence packets with bank statements, printed text messages, the timeline of lies, and photos I had found on social media. Jennifer had a private Instagram account that I was able to access through a mutual friend's phone. She had posted photos of romantic getaways with captions like, "Best weekend ever," and "So blessed." The locations and dates matched exactly with Marcus's supposed business trips. One photo showed Jennifer at a spa, holding a champagne glass, with the caption, "He spoils me so much." That photo was taken on my birthday. Marcus had told me he couldn't celebrate with me that evening because he had an important client dinner in Milwaukee. He had actually been at a spa hotel 2 hours away with Jennifer. By 6:40, we were ready. Rachel and I got into her car, and she drove us to Lake Forest. As we pulled up to the Wellington mansion, my heart was racing, but my hands were steady. I felt calm in a way I hadn't felt in months. I was done being the clueless wife. I was done making excuses for Marcus's behavior. I was done protecting the feelings of people who didn't care about mine. "Are you ready?" Rachel asked as we parked. "I'm ready. Let's do this." The Wellington Christmas party was already in full swing when we walked through the front door at 7 p.m. sharp. The foyer was decorated with an enormous Christmas tree that had to be at least 14 feet tall, covered in gold and crystal ornaments that probably cost more than my car. A pianist was playing Christmas classics in the living room. Catering staff in formal uniforms circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. The whole scene looked like something from a magazine spread about elegant holiday entertaining. Patricia Wellington spotted me immediately. She swept over in a silver cocktail dress, her perfectly styled blonde hair not moving despite her rapid approach. "Sophia, darling, there you are. Right on time for once. That dress is very bold. Quite colorful." She air-kissed near my cheek without actually making contact. "And who is this?" "This is my friend Rachel. She's an attorney. I hope you don't mind that I brought a guest." "Of course not, dear. The more the merrier." Patricia's tone suggested it was very much not the merrier, but she was too well-bred to say so. "Marcus has been looking for you. He's in the living room with his father and some clients. Do go say hello." I smiled. "I will. In just a moment." Rachel and I moved through the crowd. I saw familiar faces. Marcus's colleagues from the firm, Patricia's friends from her charity boards, neighbors from Lake Forest, extended family members. 60 people, maybe more, all dressed in their holiday finest, drinking expensive champagne and enjoying expensive food, completely unaware that they were about to witness the most dramatic scene of their lives. I found Marcus in the living room, exactly where Patricia said he would be. He was talking to his father and 2 men in suits, probably clients or business partners. When he saw me, his face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, because he hadn't expected me to arrive on time. Recognition, because he obviously had forgotten I was coming early. And then worry, because something about my expression must have warned him that something was wrong. He excused himself from the group and came over to me. "Sophia. Hey, I didn't hear you come in. You look beautiful." He leaned in to kiss my cheek, but I turned my head away. "We need to talk, Marcus. Privately." His smile faltered. "Can it wait? This is kind of important. My dad has some major clients here, and I need to make a good impression." "No, it can't wait. It needs to happen right now." Something in my voice must have gotten through to him because he finally looked at me, really looked at me. Okay, let's go to the study. Of course he would choose the study. The same room where I had watched him kiss Jennifer just a few hours ago. We walked through the house, Rachel following discreetly behind us. Marcus didn't question her presence, probably too worried about whatever I wanted to discuss to think about why I had brought a friend to his family party. The study looked the same as it had that afternoon. Rich wood paneling, leather furniture, shelves of books that were probably more for show than reading. Marcus closed the door behind us and turned to face me. "What's going on, Sophia? You're acting strange." I decided to go straight for it. No preamble, no easing into the conversation. "I arrived early today, around 4:30. His face went completely pale. For a second, he looked like he might faint. "I saw you, Marcus. I saw you kissing Jennifer. In this room. Through that window." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Sophia, I can explain. Can you explain the $23,000 in charges on a credit card I didn't know you had? Can you explain the hotels, the restaurants, the romantic getaways? Can you explain the $4,000 bracelet from Tiffany's that you bought 3 days ago while telling me we needed to budget?" His face was no longer pale. It was green. "How did you went through my things?" "I went through our bank statements. I found your text messages. I know everything, Marcus. I know you've been having an affair with Jennifer for at least 6 months. I know you've been stealing money from our joint account to pay for it. I know you told her you'd leave me after the holidays. I know you've been planning a future with her." He sank into one of the leather chairs, his head in his hands. "Sophia, please. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair with your brother's wife. You've been lying to me for months. You've been stealing my money to fund your relationship with her. What part of that am I misunderstanding?" He looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made me even angrier. He looked cornered, desperate, but not sorry. Not guilty, just caught. "It just happened, Sophia. We didn't plan it. We fell in love. These things happen. These things don't just happen, Marcus. You made a choice. Every time you lied to me, that was a choice. Every time you kissed her, that was a choice. Every time you charged a hotel to our account, that was a choice." He stood up abruptly. "Fine. You're right. I'm a terrible person. But can we please not do this here? Not tonight. My parents have important guests. This party is crucial for my dad's business. We can talk about this tomorrow at home privately. Why should I care about your father's business? Why should I care about this party? Did you care about our marriage when you were sleeping with Jennifer? Sophia, please." His voice dropped to a whisper, almost pleading. "If you say anything tonight, it will ruin everything. My family, my career, my relationship with Derek. Can we please just get through this party, and then we'll talk? I promise I'll tell you everything." I looked at my husband, begging me to keep his secret, asking me to protect him from the consequences of his own actions. And I realized that I had spent our entire marriage doing exactly that. Protecting him, making excuses for him, putting his needs before my own. Not anymore. "No, Marcus. We're not going to get through this party. We're going to end this party. And you're going to face exactly what you've done." His expression changed. The pleading disappeared, replaced by something harder. "Don't do this, Sophia. I'm warning you. My family has lawyers. If you try to embarrass us, you'll regret it. You'll get nothing in the divorce." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact. You make a scene tonight, and I'll make sure you walk away with nothing." I smiled then. It wasn't a nice smile. "Marcus, you've already given me everything I need. Every bank statement, every text message, every lie. Rachel here is a divorce attorney. She's been documenting everything. You're not going to make it out of this marriage with anything except a ruined reputation." He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to hurt. It was the first time he had ever been physically aggressive with me. "Don't you dare ruin this family's reputation. My mother has worked her entire life to build our standing in this community." I pulled my arm free. "Your mother's reputation isn't my problem. You should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with your brother's wife." Sophia, I swear to God. What? What are you going to do, Marcus? Hit me? Go ahead. Rachel's recording everything on her phone. Rachel held up her phone, showing the red recording light. Marcus's face went from red to white again. At that moment, Patricia's voice rang out from the hallway. Everyone, please make your way to the dining room. Dinner is about to be served. I looked at Marcus one last time. This is your last chance to tell everyone yourself. You can control the narrative, make it less painful. Or I can do it my way. He stared at me and I could see him calculating, trying to figure out if I was bluffing, if there was any way to talk his way out of this. Then he made his decision. You won't do it. You're too polite, too concerned about what people think. You'll stay quiet because that's what you always do. He was right about what I used to do, but he had no idea who I had become in the last few hours. Let's go to dinner, I said. I'm suddenly very hungry. The dining room at the Wellington estate could seat 30 people comfortably. Tonight, every seat was filled. Patricia had outdone herself with the decorations. Crystal chandeliers, fine china with the Wellington family crest, elaborate centerpieces made of white roses and pine branches. Place cards with calligraphy indicated where everyone should sit. I found my seat. Of course, Marcus was next to me. Across the table were Derek and Jennifer. Derek was smiling, excited about his first Christmas as a married man. Jennifer looked nervous, her eyes darting between Marcus and me. She knew something was wrong. Women's intuition, perhaps. Or maybe she had seen Marcus's face when we emerged from the study. Rachel had been seated at the far end of the table, positioned perfectly to observe everything. She had her camera bag with her, which probably looked strange for a dinner party, but nobody had questioned it yet. Richard Wellington stood at the head of the table, preparing to give his traditional Christmas toast. He was a tall man with gray hair and the kind of commanding presence that made people listen when he spoke. Before we begin our meal, I'd like to say a few words about family. I stood up before he could continue. Every head in the room turned toward me. 30-plus pairs of eyes, all curious about why I was interrupting Richard Wellington's toast. Patricia's face was already horrified. Interrupting her carefully planned dinner was a cardinal sin in her world. I'm sorry, Richard, but I have something to say first. It can't wait. Richard looked annoyed but also slightly amused. He probably thought I was going to make some sweet speech about being grateful to be part of the Wellington family. Of course, Sophia. The floor is yours. I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment where I either backed down and protected everyone's feelings, or I stood up for myself and demanded justice. There was no middle ground. I want to talk about truth, about honesty, about what it really means to be a family. Marcus stood up next to me. Sophia, don't. Sit down, Marcus. Something in my voice made him sit. I continued. I arrived early today, around 4:30. I wanted to help set up to be a good daughter-in-law. Instead, I saw something that I'm sure everyone here will be very interested to know. The room was completely silent now. Even the catering staff had stopped moving. I saw my husband in the study, kissing another woman, and that woman was Jennifer. The silence shattered. Gasps echoed around the room. Someone dropped a fork. Patricia made a strangled sound. Derek stood up so fast his chair fell backward. What? Derek's voice was barely a whisper. Jennifer's face crumbled. Derek, I can explain. Sophia is lying, Marcus shouted. She's having some kind of breakdown. She's been stressed at work, and she's imagining things. I'm not imagining the bank statements, I said calmly. I pulled out the evidence packet that Rachel had prepared and began distributing pages around the table. These are charges from our joint account. Hotels, restaurants, romantic getaways. All on days when Marcus said he was working late or on business trips. Rachel stood and began handing out additional packets to key guests. She made sure Richard, Patricia, and Derek each got a complete set. The Peninsula Hotel, $350. Marcus told me he was in a late meeting that night. I pointed to the date. Gibson Steakhouse, $215 for dinner. He said he was having client drinks. I kept going. reading off charges while people flipped through their packets. The Langham Hotel, Mare Restaurant, GT Prime. These aren't business expenses. These are dates. And he wasn't alone. This doesn't prove anything. Marcus was standing now, his face red. These could be legitimate business expenses. Then explain this. I held up a photo of the Tiffany's receipt. $4,200 for a diamond tennis bracelet. Purchased 3 days ago. I never received any jewelry, Marcus. But I'm sure Jennifer did. Jennifer made a small sobbing sound. Derek turned to look at her, his face a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Jennifer? Tell me this isn't true. Tell me she's making this up. Jennifer was crying now, mascara running down her face. Derek, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. We fell in love. We tried to fight it. But you fell in love with my brother? Derek's voice broke. How long? How long has this been going on? 6 months, I answered for her. At least 6 months, based on the bank statements. But probably longer. Marcus tried one more time to control the narrative. Sophia, you're embarrassing yourself. Everyone, my wife has been under a lot of stress lately. She's clearly misinterpreting innocent. I have text messages, I interrupted. I pulled out my phone and began reading aloud. These are from Marcus's phone, backed up to the cloud. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. You're incredible. Sent to Jennifer Miller 6 months ago. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. Sent 4 months ago. I'll tell Sophia after the holidays. Then we can be together. Sent 2 weeks ago. Jennifer was sobbing openly now. Derek just stood there, frozen, staring at his brother like he'd never seen him before. Shall I continue? I have hundreds of messages. They planned their future together while lying to both of us every single day. Richard Wellington finally found his voice. Marcus, tell me this isn't true. Marcus looked at his father, then at me, then at the 60 guests who were watching this scene unfold like it was a television drama. I could see him, trying to calculate if there was any way to talk his way out of this. But the evidence was overwhelming, printed out in black and white, distributed to everyone who mattered. Dad, it's complicated. Complicated. Derek finally moved, taking a step toward his brother. You slept with my wife, and it's complicated? Derek, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. It didn't just happen. I could feel my voice rising, all the hurt and anger of the past hours finally pouring out. You made a choice. Every single day for months you chose to betray your wife and your brother. You chose to steal money from our account to pay for your affair. You chose to look me in the eye and lie. Don't you dare say it just happened. Patricia had gone completely white. The Tiffany's bracelet. That's the one I helped you pick out last week. You said it was for Sophia, for Christmas. Marcus didn't answer. You brought Jennifer with you, Patricia continued, her voice shaking. You said you needed a woman's opinion on jewelry for your wife. You made me help you pick out jewelry for your mistress, while I thought I was helping you surprise Sophia. The room erupted. Multiple people started talking at once. Derek lunged at Marcus, and several guests had to hold him back. Jennifer ran from the room, sobbing. Patricia sank into her chair, looking decades older than she had 5 minutes ago. Richard's voice cut through the chaos. Everyone out. Family only. Now. The guests didn't need to be told twice. There was a scramble for the exits. Everyone eager to escape the disaster unfolding in front of them, but also eager to have the story to tell later. I could already imagine the phone calls that would start the moment people reached their cars. Rachel caught my eye and gestured toward the door. I shook my head. I wasn't leaving. I was family, at least for now, and I had earned my place at this confrontation. When the dining room had cleared except for the Wellington family and Rachel, Richard turned to Marcus with a look of such disappointment that even I felt sorry for my husband for a moment. Just a moment. Explain yourself. Now. Marcus looked at the floor. I fell in love with Jennifer. It wasn't planned. We tried to fight it, but we couldn't. I was going to tell Sophia after the holidays. I was going to divorce her and Jennifer was going to leave Derek. We were going to do it the right way. The right way? Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. The right way would have been not sleeping with my wife in the first place. The right way would have been being honest instead of lying to everyone. I know. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You hurt Sophia. You hurt everyone in this family. Derek turned to Jennifer, who had been standing silently in the doorway. And you? We've been married 8 months. 8 months. When did this start? Jennifer wiped her eyes. At your bachelor party. Marcus drove me home because I had too much to drink. We talked in the car. One thing led to another. My bachelor party? Derek's voice was barely audible. You've been cheating on me since before our wedding? I'm sorry. I thought it was just a mistake, just a one-time thing. But then we kept seeing each other, and I realized I had feelings for Marcus. Real feelings. So you married me anyway? You stood at the altar and said your vows while planning to be with my brother. Jennifer didn't answer. She didn't have to. Patricia finally spoke, her voice cold and controlled despite her obvious devastation. Do you have any idea what you've done? The scandal this will cause? Everyone at this party will tell their friends. By tomorrow, everyone in our social circle will know. The country club, the charity boards, the business partners. Our family's reputation is destroyed. Your reputation? I couldn't help myself. Your son has been committing financial fraud and adultery for months, and you're worried about your reputation? Of course I'm worried about our reputation. That's all we have in this community. That's what 3 generations of Wellingtons have built. Then maybe you should have raised a son who valued honesty over image. Patricia's eyes flashed with anger. Don't you dare judge my parenting. You're the one who made a scene at my Christmas party. You could have handled this privately, discreetly. Instead, you chose public humiliation. Marcus chose public humiliation when he decided to flaunt his affair all over Chicago. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. You vindictive. Enough. Richard's voice boomed through the room. Patricia, be quiet. Sophia has every right to be angry. Our son betrayed her in the worst way possible. He turned to Marcus. You're cut off. Financially, professionally, all of it. I won't have a thief and a liar representing the Wellington name in business. Dad, you can't. I can and I will. You'll pay back every penny you stole from Sophia. You'll figure out your own living situation because you're not staying in your house. That house is in Sophia's name too, and she has more right to it than you do. And you'll stay away from this family until you figure out how to act like a decent human being. Marcus looked shattered. Mom, please. Don't look at me for help, Patricia said coldly. You embarrassed this family. You made me an accomplice in your affair. You've destroyed any chance of a relationship with your brother. You did this to yourself. Derek hadn't said anything for several minutes. He was just staring at Jennifer like he didn't recognize her. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless. I want a divorce. Derek, please, we can work through this. Work through this? You've been sleeping with my brother since before our wedding. There's nothing to work through. I'll have my lawyer contact you. Don't come back to our apartment. Your things will be packed and waiting for you. He walked out without looking back. Jennifer started to follow him, but Richard held up a hand. I think you've done enough damage for one evening. You need to leave. Jennifer looked around the room, searching for an ally and finding none. Even Marcus wouldn't meet her eyes. She had probably thought that once the affair was exposed, they would face it together, united in their love. Instead, she was alone, her marriage destroyed, her reputation in ruins, and the man she had risked everything for couldn't even look at her. She left quietly, and I felt a small pang of sympathy for her. She had been wrong to have an affair with a married man, especially her husband's brother. But Marcus had lied to her too. He had promised her a future together, had told her he would leave me, had made her believe that their relationship was worth destroying 2 marriages for. Now she was learning the hard way that Marcus's promises meant nothing. When she was gone, Richard turned back to Marcus. You have 1 week to move out of your house. I'll expect a full accounting of all the money you stole, and you'll sign whatever papers Sophia's attorney prepares. If you fight her on the divorce, I'll make sure you never work in this city again. Am I clear?" Marcus nodded, defeated. "Then get out of my sight." Marcus looked at me one last time. I thought he might apologize, might finally show some genuine remorse for what he had done. Instead, he said, "I hope you're happy, Sophia. You got what you wanted." "What I wanted was a faithful husband. What I got was a liar and a thief. But you're right about one thing. I am happy. I'm happy that I finally know the truth. I'm happy that I don't have to waste any more of my life on you." He left without another word. Patricia stood and walked out as well, probably to start damage control with her social circle. That left just me, Richard, and Rachel in the dining room. Richard sat down heavily in his chair. For the first time since I had known him, he looked old and tired. "Sophia, I apologize. On behalf of my family, on behalf of the Wellington name. What my son did to you is unforgivable." "Thank you, Richard. I want you to know that you'll have my full support in the divorce proceedings. Whatever you need, whatever evidence, whatever testimony, it's yours. Marcus doesn't deserve any consideration, and he won't get any from me." I nodded, too exhausted to say much more. "And Sophia, what you did tonight took courage. Most people would have stayed quiet to avoid a scene, but you stood up for yourself. That's admirable." As Rachel and I finally left the Wellington mansion, I felt lighter than I had in months. My marriage was over. My life as I knew it was destroyed. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. The next week was a blur of legal proceedings, moving arrangements, and endless conversations with Rachel about divorce strategy. Marcus tried to call me 47 times on Christmas Day. I blocked his number after the first 10 calls. Jennifer called too, leaving a crying voicemail about how I had destroyed her marriage. I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Derek reached out on the 27th. We met for coffee at a quiet cafe far from Lake Forest. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. I probably looked the same. "Thank you," he said when we sat down, "for telling the truth. I know it couldn't have been easy. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. I'm not. If you hadn't exposed them, I might have lived in that lie for years. Jennifer would have kept cheating, Marcus would have kept lying, and I would have been the idiot who never suspected anything." We talked for 2 hours. About the signs we had both missed, about the lies we had believed, about the people we thought we had married versus who they really were. It was cathartic in a strange way, bonding with my brother-in-law over our shared betrayal. "What are you going to do now?" Derek asked as we were leaving. "I'm going to build a new life. One where I don't have to wonder if I'm being lied to. Where I don't have to check bank statements for evidence of betrayal. Where I can trust the people I love." "That sounds good. Let me know if you need anything. We may not be family anymore legally, but I'll always consider you a friend." "Same here, Derek." The divorce proceedings went faster than I expected. Marcus tried to fight for the house at first, but Richard was true to his word. He provided testimony about the financial fraud, supported my claims about the affair, and made it clear that Marcus would have no family support if he contested the divorce. Marcus's lawyer advised him to accept my terms. I got the house, both cars, and full restitution for the $23,000 Marcus had charged on the secret credit card. The court also ordered him to pay my legal fees and give me 80% of our joint assets. Marcus was left with almost nothing, exactly as he deserved. His consulting firm fired him 2 weeks after the Christmas party. Apparently, several clients had been at the party and witnessed the whole confrontation. They didn't want to be associated with someone who had such a public scandal attached to his name. His reputation in Chicago's financial world was destroyed. Last I heard, he was living in his parents' basement, trying to find work out of state where people didn't know his story. Jennifer and Derek's divorce was finalized in March. She tried to get alimony, but Derek's lawyer pointed out that she had admitted to adultery in front of 30 witnesses. She got nothing. Her family apparently disowned her, calling her a homewrecker who had brought shame on their name. Marcus stopped returning her calls about a month after the party. Turned out his promises about their future together were as empty as his wedding vows had been. By the time summer came around, I was in a completely different place emotionally. I threw myself into my work at the architecture firm and ended up getting promoted to senior designer. The museum project I had been working on was selected for a prestigious award. I bought myself a beautiful coat. The one Marcus had said was too expensive months ago. It cost $300 and it was worth every penny. I also started therapy to work through the betrayal and to understand why I had ignored so many red flags in my marriage. My therapist helped me see that I had been so eager to be part of the Wellington family, to be accepted by them, that I had lost sight of my own worth. I had made myself smaller, quieter, more agreeable, trying to fit into their world. Never again. Derek and I stayed friends. We had coffee every few weeks, updating each other on our lives, supporting each other through the divorce aftermath. He started dating someone new in the spring, a woman he met through work who knew nothing about the Wellington family drama. He seemed happy, or at least happier than he had been. As for me, I wasn't ready to date yet. I was still rebuilding my sense of trust, still learning to recognize red flags, still figuring out who I was outside of being Mrs. Marcus Wellington. But I was getting there. 1 year after that Christmas Eve, I hosted my own small holiday gathering. Just a few close friends, Rachel included, at my house. My house, not Marcus's house, not the Wellington family house. Mine. We ate too much food, drank too much wine, and laughed until our sides hurt. Nobody made passive-aggressive comments about my career or my dress or my contribution to anyone's legacy. As I was cleaning up after everyone left, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sophia? It's Marcus. I hadn't heard his voice in months. It sounded different somehow. Smaller, less confident. What do you want, Marcus? I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better than what I gave you. I waited for him to continue, but that seemed to be all he had to say. Okay. Thank you for apologizing. I was wondering if we could meet up sometime. Talk about everything. Maybe find closure. I don't need closure from you, Marcus. I found my own closure when I stood up in front of 60 people and told the truth about what you did. I don't need your apology or your explanation or your attempt at redemption. I've moved on. I've changed, Sophia. I'm in therapy now. I'm working on myself. That's good. You should work on yourself. But you don't get to work on yourself with me. You don't get to use me to make yourself feel better about your choices. You destroyed our marriage. You stole from me. You humiliated me. And I'm done carrying any piece of that. I understand. I just thought. Goodbye, Marcus. I hope you become a better person. But I won't be there to see it. I hung up and blocked the number. Then I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on my couch in my house, and felt absolutely nothing about Marcus Wellington. No anger, no hurt, no longing for what we used to have. Just peace. People often ask me if I regret exposing Marcus and Jennifer so publicly. If I think I should have handled it more privately, more discreetly. My answer is always the same. No. Not for a single second. Marcus had humiliated me privately for months, lying to my face while carrying on an affair with his brother's wife. He had made me feel like I was imagining things when I questioned his behavior. He had stolen my money to fund his relationship with another woman. He had planned to leave me after the holidays, timing his betrayal for maximum convenience. I gave him exactly what he deserved: public exposure, public humiliation, and public consequences for his private actions. Some people think revenge is beneath us, that we should take the high road and handle things quietly. But there's something powerful about standing up in front of everyone who matters and saying, "This is what happened to me, and I refuse to be silent about it." That Christmas Eve, when I interrupted Richard Wellington's toast and exposed the affair in front of 60 guests, I took my power back. I stopped being the accommodating wife who made excuses for her husband's behavior. I stopped worrying about other people's feelings more than my own. I stopped being small. And the life I built after that night is better than anything I had with Marcus. It's mine, built on honesty and self-respect and the knowledge that I will never again settle for someone who doesn't value me. So no, I don't regret it. Not the confrontation, not the public exposure, not the destruction of the Wellington family Christmas party. Marcus made his choices. I just made sure he faced the consequences. And I'd do it all over again without hesitation. Some people deserve closure. Others just deserve consequences. Marcus got exactly what he deserved. And I got something better. I got my life back.